One, it's going to help us from a regulation, argument, housing supply angle. The other is it's going to help us and help the people in our sector who want to improve quality to be able to do that.
If you run a short-term rental business in the UK, the regulatory landscape is about to change. Registration schemes, tourism taxes, planning restrictions. But what does that actually mean for hosts and property managers? In this episode, you'll learn what regulation is most likely coming to the UK and what hosts should be preparing for right now. My guest today is Andy Fenner, Chief Executive of the Short-Term Accommodation Association. He spent years representing the industry in discussions with government and policymakers, and after playing a major role in shaping the conversation around short-term rentals in the UK, he's stepping down. This is the House Planet podcast, powered by Hostfully. Andy, thank you for joining us on the House Planet podcast. I want to start with the big news. You've announced you're stepping down as Chief Executive of the Short-Term Accommodation Association. Tell us more.
Yeah, hi, James. Thanks for having me on again. Yes, I am moving on, staying in tourism. I'm going to go and join an organisation called Wise Travel Confederation based over in Amsterdam. It's the World Youth Travel Organisation, basically doing what the STAA does, but looking after youth and student travel all around the world. So now the big thing is on for what I would like to say is the second best job in travel, which is my old job at the STAA. Graham and I are on the active search for a replacement. And I think it's a really good sign for the strength of the sector and the value of the STAA. The sheer number of people we've had applying for the role has just been so impressive. And I would say the quality of the candidates, there's going to be a lot of upset people because there's a lot of people who have applied who would love to give the job to, but you can only have one replacement. So we've been really, really impressed by the sheer number and quality of the people who have applied for this job. And I think it just speaks volumes of the short-term rental sector and how valued and appreciated we now are.
What's the ideal profile for the Chief Executive of the STAA? What are the skills and contacts that they need to have?
What's the ideal profile? Well, me? No. What's the ideal profile? Somebody who, anybody who runs a trade association knows that, running a trade association is actually incredibly hard. It's one of the biggest challenges so far of my career because you are bouncing around from things that are completely different. You are talking to a local councillor 1 minute, a minister the next minute, dealing with a politician doing this, that, the other in Parliament. And then you can be dealing with sorting out, folding envelopes to send out letters. You are doing all sorts of tasks and realizing or never forgetting that the most important thing you are doing is talking to your members and dealing with the idea that it doesn't matter if a member is, the STAA has people from Airbnb, Expedia, to people who own one property that they inherited in the Cotswolds. And it doesn't matter how big you are as a member. In the STAA, every member, we are one member, one vote. Everybody is as important as each other. And the issues and problems of that host who has one property are just as important. Now, I know that because I've been a host. I've worked in tourism for 25 years. I've done those jobs. I've made the beds, cleaned the toilets, put it on Airbnb, advertised it, and know it. And that's what we need in someone who's going to come into the role. Someone who understands tourism and understands that, for instance, with the new regulations coming in the UK, in England, that we don't do it in August because that's when we make all our money. Knows when tourism is successful and knows what you need for tourism to be successful. Because at the end of the day, short-term rental tourism is about people and families going on holiday. That's what we do. We sell holidays, we sell fun, we sell breaks, we sell relaxation, but we sell holidays to people. And we need someone in charge of the association who understands that, who can go and talk to ministers and say, actually, We're not about housing. We're not about taking houses off people. We don't do this. What we do is create jobs in rural areas and sell holidays.
There's a big lobbying aspect to the job. You mentioned there talking to local councillors, to ministers. Obviously, it's important, I think, to have some short-term rental knowledge as well. But where does the balance lie? Is it more important to have lobbying expertise and those relationships in the political sector, or is it more important to have STR knowledge?
I'm not going to deny that it has very much helped me that I do have, I have worked in politics for a long time, and that has helped. However, the most important thing is an understanding and a passion for our industry. If you believe in our sector and you are one of those people who's paid his mortgage through short-term rental tourism and you understand the benefits of it, you can explain that to a politician. If you are just somebody who is going and reading it off the back of an envelope saying these are my crib notes on what short-term rental tourism are, that passion and that belief in the sector isn't going to come across. You've got to believe in our sector. Now, I believe passionately that our sector is the driver of jobs in rural and coastal communities across the country. That's how, as the STAA, we've got to work with MPs like Chris Webb at the APPG for tourism. The event that Host Planet was at up in Blackpool, the road shows that we're doing with you guys around the country, where we're getting out there and we're talking about the value of our sector. One of the things I've very much learned in the 3 years that I've been at the STAA is when you talk to a politician and you explain what we do as an industry, they understand it, they believe in it, and 9 times out of 10, they change their mind if they were anti-short-term rentals and then understand that actually, yeah, we are bringing jobs, we are bringing investment, we are bringing customers into the pubs, etc. So that is, in my opinion, the crucial bit of this job. At the STAA, we're really fortunate that we have something called our policy working group that we instigated a few years ago. We've got professional policy people and lobbyists from companies like Expedia, like Airbnb. We've got that. So if I ever need to know, how do I get hold of this politician or how do I do that? We've got that expertise I can call upon. So having that passion for our industry and that belief in the small businesses and the owners across our sector, that's what we need.
And when can we expect a successor to be announced?
That is something that you will have to ask Graham as our chair. And I think one of the crucial things for Graham, for me, because I still really believe in this sector a lot, is that we need to get the right person in rather than someone in quickly. So I know that whoever is going to step into this role, because it is such a crucial role at the moment, Graham will ensure that it is the right person for the job to take the STAA on to the next chapter.
So you've obviously been one of the most visible voices representing the STR industry in the UK. When you look back at your time leading the STAA, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of how we have changed. When I first came here, we as the industry, were viewed with a certain amount of suspicion by what I would call traditional tourism. We were viewed with a lot of suspicion from a lot of politicians. Some politicians still believe that, but a lot of people have come round to understanding that actually we are a vital and key part of the wider tourism sector, and the belief that the change in attitude that we aren't just taking away people's houses, that we are providing vital jobs. We are the future of tourism in our rural and coastal communities. We've worked really hard to get that opinion changed. And I think one of the things that really shows that is that, organizations like Visit Britain are now sponsoring and supporting the Short Stay Summit. Visit Britain and the team will be there again this year. They were there last year. They were the year before. They are supporting us as an industry. And we can do things at the STAA, such as the event that James, you and Host Planet supported up in Blackpool, that we can get that people like the CEO of Visit Britain to come up to Blackpool and talk about the benefits of short-term rental tourism. That isn't something that happened 3 years ago. That would never have happened. But that's what we've done, and we've changed the narrative so that people now believe and know the value that our sector does bring.
Quick pause before we continue. This episode is powered by Hostfully, a property management platform built for professional hosts and managers who want to build sustainable short-term rental businesses. From robust PMS tools to industry-leading digital guidebooks, Hostfully helps you streamline operations and deliver a better guest experience, whether you're managing one property or an entire portfolio. If you'd like to learn more, simply scan the QR code on screen if you're watching on YouTube, or hit the link in the show notes to book a demo with a huge friend of the show, Frank Bosey. He'll also share an exclusive Host Planet bonus, $500 off onboarding for the property management software, and 30% off digital guidebooks for life. All right, back to the show. Andy, regulation in the UK. We know that short-term rentals have grown quite a bit over the past decade, and that growth has come with increasing scrutiny. In the UK, we're hearing a lot more now about tourism taxes, statutory registration, planning changes, energy performance certificates. Where do you think we currently stand in relation to regulation in the UK, and what should hosts and property managers be preparing for?
Yeah, that list of things you've read out, they are each of them individually, things we can tackle. I think you reading that list out is the issue that we've got in the UK with regulation. We don't have in our system of government, it doesn't matter which party's in charge of government, we don't have a centralised tourism minister. We as the STAA have been working a lot with associations across the world and helping them with our best practice, and helping and using the fact that helping other associations helps our industry and creates new markets. Now, one of the things we've realized doing that is that countries such as South Africa have a tourism minister. They have a tourism ministry. It's a cabinet level job. It's one of the big ones. That gives us a central point of contact that when we have issues with regulation, with this, that, and the other, we can go to that tourism ministry, and effectively they've got our back as the tourism sector. We unfortunately don't have that in the UK. And that's one of the big issues, that you've got that list of things hitting us because some of them are coming from Treasury. Some of them might be coming from DEFRA. Some of them might be coming from housing. Some of them might be coming from tourism. And it's not coordinated. And this barrage of things hitting our sector all at once, with no big, strong tourism minister that we can pick up the phone to and say, look, this is coming. We need you to bat this one away. We're just seen as a sort of the cash cow that keeps on giving. You can hit us with EPCs. You can hit us with, removing FHO. You can hit us with this. You can hit us with that. Well, you can't. Because we've also got, outside of that list, other things that and we don't specifically look at, but organisations like JOS at UK Inbound are dealing with, the visa regulations. We've got, the issue that if you live in a country such as South Africa, you can get a visa for Schengen, and you can go to Paris, Rome, Amsterdam. You can go all across Europe on one visa, which is acquired digitally. If you want to come to the UK, it's a completely separate visa, and it only gets you to come to the UK. So people are choosing to go to Europe and not necessarily coming here. We've got all of these factors. We've got things that, the guys at the Tourism Alliance are dealing with, which is the tax-free for tourists has gone. If you go to Europe, you can buy stuff, you claim the VAT back. Come to the UK, you can't. Everything is more expensive here. So we've got all of these factors that are coming at us, and it's affecting our business more than perhaps others in tourism, because short-term rentals, as we keep telling government ministers, is about small businesses. We aren't major international companies like Hilton Hotels or AHG or anything else. We're small businesses. We're people who own individual properties. Yes, lots of times we get called, apologies to Airbnb, but we get called generically Airbnb. Well, Airbnb doesn't own a single property in the UK. They don't own anything. Who owns those properties? Are local people who buy properties in their local area, because in the UK, we have told people year and year again that actually what you should do with your money is invest it in property. We have people watching Homes Under the Hammer and everything else on TV. The whole system is geared up to buy property. Well, that's what people have gone out and done. They've bought property in their local areas. They've invested in their local communities. And now we're turning around to those people and saying, well, actually, you're wrong, because what you're doing is, and that's a narrative we've got to get away from. But we've got all of these people who are doing the right thing, investing in their communities, being hit with this barrage of things. What can you do as an individual host? The advantage that we've got, and it's a massive advantage, is that we aren't faceless corporations. We are people who are working in our local communities. You are ambassadors for your industry as a host. We've said this to people over and over and over again. Get out there, be proud of what you do. Tell people that you are a short-term rental host. You have a holiday let down the road. And actually, I create jobs. I put people in the local pub. My people go in the local restaurant. It's not like staying in the Holiday Inn or staying in the Premier Inn where the breakfast you eat is brought in by Booker or Bake Brothers or whoever it is on a central buying thing. Your people go down the road to the local cafe and buy their breakfast. They go to the local farm shop. They create jobs. Get out there and tell them. Tell people and tell your local councillors what you do. One of the problems of our sector is that we've been a little bit too shy to be proud of what we do, and we need to get out there. And if I could change something for 2026, is get every host to get out there and tell your local community, tell your local councillor, this is what I do. Actually, I'm not costing somebody a house that they can live in. I'm creating pubs, jobs in restaurants, and jobs in my local community, and be proud of it.
I've said it over and over again at our roadshow events. If we don't shout out about our industry and about the positive aspects of it, then nobody else will. So yeah, really, really important point. Let's just look at a couple of those things that I mentioned in that long list of regulatory issues. Statutory registration, where are we with that?
The $64,000 question, where are we with that? We don't officially, we don't know. Sort of off the record, what we've been doing as the STAA is working really closely with DCMS, almost on a weekly basis. They are phoning, calling, emailing, asking for help with what should we do with this, what should we do with that. We're getting there. Unofficially, we understand that the registration scheme was either going to come in April. I would hate to think that it was being used as a political football just before the local elections. That's for people to make their own mind up. Or it was going to come in later. Now, we now understand that, and certainly from the work we're still doing with DCMS, this isn't going to be ready for April. So we've worked hard with the politicians we've been talking to say, look, please don't bring this in July or August. If it can't come in April, whacking a new registration scheme into the busiest time of the tourism calendar is not great. So let's pause it until October. Let's get the season done. Let the businesses in our sector make the income they need to actually survive and pay their mortgages, and we'll do it in October. And as far as we understand it, that's where we're currently at. We're looking at an October instigation. And our argument with DCMS is, we've waited. I mean, the STAA have campaigned for this scheme since 2017. We have waited for years. Let's wait another couple of months and get it right, rather than, suddenly having a mad rush in the last couple of months and putting something in that needs changed and changed. You look at the issues that we've had dealing with Scottish government, where they put stuff in and it's being sort of changed and adapted on the hoof a bit. Now they are listening and changing, which is great, but would have been much better to get this right in the first place. So hopefully that's where we are with DCMS. But as I say, on the record, I don't know. But October is where I'll be thinking.
Your short-term rental business is evolving fast, but how do you keep up with the latest regulation, tax changes, and industry trends? The answer is to attend the House Planet Roadshow, which is coming to a city near you in 2026. This is the UK's premier event for holiday let professionals, supported by the Short-Term Accommodation Association, Price Labs, and the Women in Short-Term Rentals community. This is your essential opportunity for learning, networking, and expert insight. Starting in Cornwall on the 5th of February, you'll spend a full day mastering compliance, optimizing your revenue strategies, and sharing lessons learned with your peers. After Cornwall, we'll be in Portsmouth on the 4th of March and London on the 23rd of April. That's the day after the Short Stay Summit. Later in the year, we'll be heading to Nottingham, Bath, Chester, and Edinburgh. So don't navigate the complex 2026 market alone. Learn from the leaders driving the industry forward and shape the short-term rental conversation in your market. Tickets are just £40 each and available now from our website. Head to houseplanet.club for further details. Why is statutory registration a good thing for the industry?
Yeah, there's two sort of real planks of that one. Why is it good for the industry? One is we know that one of the sticks that government politicians beat us as a sector with is the housing issue, that we take away houses. We are costing, working families housing. Well, we can't really, until we know how big the sector is, we don't know if that's true or not. We have no idea. We've had instances, and I quote this one quite a lot. I did this at the roadshow. So for anybody who was at the roadshow in Portsmouth last week, apologies, I'm going to repeat the story. We had a situation in Brighton, for instance, last year where Steve Taggart, one of the property managers over there, and I were giving evidence to Brighton City Council. They quoted 6,000 properties in Brighton and were using that as the reason why they needed to bring in regulation into Brighton to limit the number of holiday lets. Fortunately, with Steve, we managed to get the information to find out where they'd got this 6,000 figure from, because I was living in Brighton at the time. Steve's a Brighton boy. This seemed completely bonkers, 6,000 holiday lets. We found out that what they were actually doing was using a data unit, which was the entire south coast from Worthing to Eastbourne and as far inland as Crawley, which obviously is massive and disproportionately, skewed the figures. They were also doing the issue that they looked at Airbnb and said, okay, there's a property there, and then that same property is listed on Booking, it's listed on Expedia, it's listed on the local property manager site. So they were clocking the same property multiple times. Through Steve's hard work, we'd estimated that the actual number of holiday lets was about 1,500. Now, 1,500 is way, would sorting out 1,500 rental units in Brighton solve Brighton's property crisis? Of course it wouldn't do a thing. But taking 1,500 tourism units out would put out of business various hotels, cafes, restaurants, etc. in Brighton. And the registration scheme and having that data will enable us to make and work with councils to make accurate decisions on how many holiday lets are there. That actually our industry probably needs support in lots of cases, not restriction. It would also enable us, so from that point of view, it will help us take away this constant thing of you are causing the housing crisis. We'll have accurate data to be able to say, no, we're not. What we're doing is providing jobs, etc. The other thing that it would enable us to do is understand how big the sector is. Understand that if there are 6,000 members in Brighton or holiday lets in Brighton, well, they're not members of the trade bodies, so let's go out there and find them. Because one of the things that we want to do, and we're doing with Visit Britain, is, and I think everybody I've ever spoken to in our sector wants to do, is raise the standards of the sector. One of the overriding conversations I had with hosts and property managers in Portsmouth at last week's Host Planet Roadshow was, how can we improve quality standards in our sector? How can we work to get sort of accreditation for the quality that we provide? People out there, like Justine Ireland from the Isle of Wight, who is providing a real quality product that's benefiting her local economy and the local community she's in, saying, well, I need to be able to get that quality standard out there and show people. Now, we can only do that if we know who is in our sector, and that's where it's also going to help. So it's two things. One, it's going to help us from a regulation argument, housing supply angle. The other is it's going to help us and help the people in our sector who want to improve quality to be able to do that.
Tourism tax then, moving on. This was suggested before last year's budget as something that might be brought in. Lots of mayors around the country were very happy at the prospect of being able to charge a tourism tax. What's your reading of this? Is this something we should be expecting, and what do you think it will look like?
Should we be expecting it? I think you need to ask yourself the question, if when a local authority is offered the chance of imposing a tax, what do you think the chances of them saying no are? So yeah, we're going to get tourism tax. When you look at tourism tax in other areas where it's been introduced, such as Amsterdam, there was a survey by the EU in 2017 that showed that the implementation of tourism tax has almost no effect on bookings. And it doesn't when you bring it in. The problem that we've got in the UK is this isn't the only thing. As we've already said in this conversation, we've got all of these other things hitting us because we don't have the advantage of having a tourism ministry that's controlling it. We've got EPCs, FH, we've got all this other barrage. So on top of all of that, and on top of the fact that, we don't have things like tax-free for tourists, etc., we're already the most expensive place in Europe to come on holiday. We've got these super expensive visas that only work for the UK and you can't go anywhere else. We've got no, VAT back, etc. Highest VAT rates. Yeah. So on top of all of that, in isolation, I can see how a government department has looked at tourism tax and said, okay, well, everywhere else it's been implemented, it doesn't make a difference. We can bring it in. But that isn't the case for us because we've got all of these other things and we're already super expensive. So, how many tourism owners you go and ask anybody who's got a property in Margate, Blackpool, Skegness, actually, can your business take a bit more tax? And will people? Of course not. It's just one thing after another, after another, after another, and just shows that I'm afraid the government just does have no idea. And this government, previous governments, because tourism tax in the UK isn't a new idea, no one understands and values the tourism sector. We've got to get, and it's the big challenge that I didn't manage to do when I was in my role at the STAA, and I know that with Graham and my replacement, we'll take this one on. We've got to get the tourism industry valued as a tourism industry. We've got to get into the industrial strategy because we're not even in it, recognized as the valuable bringer of jobs and investment across our rural communities, and appreciated. And then we need to have all of these things that are hitting our sector listed, and tourism tax should be dropped, but it's not going to be. It's going to be brought in. So what we're trying to do as a sector is campaign against it, and that's UKH and Kate Nichols over there at UK Hospitality. We're backing them up, doing a lot of work with them to try to get this stopped. But with the other hand, realizing that if it is going to come in, well, let's try and make it easy to operate, easy to administer, and not some great onerous thing, because it's going to come in with registration. We're going to have this, we're going to have, and that recognizing that in our sector, we are small businesses. Most of our hosts out there probably don't have a tax or finance department. How many of our hosts are employing a CFO that they can say, sort this out? Well, nobody. As a host, you're doing your check-ins, cleaning the rooms, fixing the toilet seat. Then you've got to come home in the afternoon and start filling in all your tourism tax forms. Well, how much more can we give people? If it's coming, we've got to make sure that it's going to be easy to administer. We shall see.
We shall see. I'm sure it will be discussed in April. We've got a big week coming up, of course. The Short Stay Summit taking place on the 22nd of April. Host Planet Roadshow's London event the day after on the 23rd. The summit then, what can we expect from this year's event?
Yeah, wow. Certainly the biggest summit that we've ever done. I mean, you would assume that I would say this, but God, yeah, I'm really chuffed with this one. We've got some really, really good speakers, some really good sessions coming. We've got Mark Simpson's running the learning labs, running alongside the summit, so you can listen to experts, people like Graham Donahue, our chair from Sykes Cottages, who's leading the way on AI in our sector. Then you can go along to the learning lab afterwards and try and actually implement this into your business. It's going to be an amazing summit. We had over 1,300 people last year. We're aiming for about 1,500 people this year. It's going to be packed. It's going to be busy. It's going to be a hectic day, but it's not just the day. And that's the thing for this year. We've got all of these other things happening the day beforehand. We've got a few of us going along to House of Lords. We've got an event there. I know that you, James, are coming to represent Hosts and Host Planet, which is fantastic. And we are meeting with the DCMS and Shadow DCMS teams, talking about our sector. In the evening, you've then got a choice. You can either go off to the Shorties Awards, or you can come along to the Short Stay Summit Icebreaker event at Island Records, and hopefully not start the summit with too much of a fuzzy head. We need you there first, bright and breezy in the morning. In the evening, we've got a host of other events happening. You've got Guesty as one organising, and I know I got the email yesterday saying, Andy, don't forget to put your name on the list because we're going to be oversubscribed. So, going to put my name down to try and get into as many of these as I can. And then, the following day, we've got the Host Planet Roadshow, which is supported by the STAA. I will be there. I know that some cracking speakers like Carl, who runs policy for Airbnb, he'll be there answering questions. And that's at the Royal Overseas League in central London. And great venue if nobody's ever been. Really, really nice venue to be at, to show, that, short-term rental tourism, we can go in places like that. And going into the Royal Overseas League, great venue. Really looking forward to it. The event last week in Portsmouth was fantastic. Really, I took away, I live and breathe short-term rentals. It's what I do every day. It's my job. But I went to that event last week in Portsmouth. I came out and I sat down with a bunch of our directors and said, actually, guys, we need to change what we're doing on this. We need to listen to people on that. It's that value in our sector of sharing and learning from each other. And that's something that you really get from being at the summit. You're going to get those big ideas on how to change and improve your business. Complementing that the following day by coming to Host Planet Roadshow. If you are a host, you really should be there, because that's when you're going to put this into practice and share it with other people in that room. Say, look, you heard Graham talking about AI. Well, how are we going to do that? You're going to get that at the Host Planet Roadshow event. So make sure you're there. And I think you've actually got Graham coming to Host Planet Roadshow as well, haven't you?
We do, yeah. We're going to have a bunch of brilliant speakers there, including yourself and Carl, like you mentioned. And we've also got an AI afternoon, really. So Graham's going to be talking about all the AI that they're implementing at Sykes Cottages. We've got Sidi Mittal coming along from Why Hungry. And Sidi's going to do a 30-minute demo of how you can build your own upselling AI agent. And you'll be able to do it on your phone. Literally as Sidi demonstrates. So that should be really exciting. We've got Mark Simpson there as well, Richard Vorton. And these guys really are at the forefront. They're actually, I think Mark's actually set up this AI WhatsApp group, and a few of us are in that. And to see what some people are working on, a lot of it, I've got to be honest, goes over my head because I'm not a very techie person. But hearing and finding out what people are developing, it's very, very interesting and very exciting. So yeah, should be a brilliant event. If you want to come along to the roadshow, we've got a few tickets remaining. Head to our website, hostplanet.club. And if you want to get to the summit, I'd really encourage it. It's the best event in the world for short-term rentals. Shortstaysummit.org, I think, Andy, for the website address, so you can get your ticket for that, and hopefully we'll see you there. So much going on in that week. In relation to the STAA, then, Andy, why should hosts and property managers and people involved in the industry be joining up? What do they get out of it? And if they want to join up, where do they go?
Yeah, you can go to the website. James has already listed, ukstaa.org. That will take you to that, or you can pick it up from the Short Stay Summit website. Why should you join? We'd encourage everybody to join their trade association. The STAA, as the trade association, is the voice that gets out there, and we are the ones who are defending your sector from, without your trade association, we would have had 90-day caps, we'd have limits, we'd have this, that, and the other. And unfortunately, in the cold light of day, it costs money to put people out there in front of politicians. It's expensive. We're really fortunate at the STAA that people like Carl Thompson from Airbnb, Charlie Reith, Expedia, Graham, etc., they're all volunteers. The work that people like Mark Simpson, etc., are doing with the STAA, he does it for free. And they're doing that because people believe in our sector and they're giving their time for free. The summit is a non-for-profit event. Every penny that is spent at the summit is paying for the STAA. It's paying for those meetings with politicians. It's paying for that work that we're doing with the Welsh government, the Scottish government, etc. And we need people across the sector to support. The cost of joining the STAA, it's down from £15 a month. It's not expensive, but because of the number of members that we have, obviously those £15 a month, they all add up and it all helps. You also get the ability to have a say. We are, as I said earlier on, we're a one member, one vote organisation. It doesn't matter if you are Brian Chesky or you own number 1 Acacia Avenue and that's your only property. Your opinion and your vote counts as much as anybody else's. So you get to have a say in the future of your sector. You get to come to our policy working group meetings. You get to come to our meetings. You get to sit there and talk to people like Mark, like Graham, and ask their opinions and have your inputs. And I know that, it sounds a bit silly, but if I wanted to go online and go to Fiverr or one of these websites and say, how much would it cost to get an hour with the CEO of Sykes Cottages? It would cost me a lot more than £15 a month. So take that opportunity. Use that advantage that you've got. These guys are there and they're available because they're the ones who really care about our sector. So yes, we need your help. We need your money. We need you to pay in because we're out there fighting for your businesses and trying to make this work for everybody. But you also get back. You get the opportunity to talk to share, to learn from all of these people. You get our weekly update emails on policy, on what's happening in your sector, anything that's changing for your business. You get that every week. You get our quarterly magazine, The Associate, which I'm very happy to say we didn't win, but it was in the top 3 National Trade Association awards. It was the top 3 best magazine from a trade association. You get that every quarter. And you get the ability to share and network with your colleagues. You also get discounts off STAA events, such as the Short Stay Summit.
Fantastic. Andy, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for joining us again on the Host Planet podcast. And thank you for all the work that you've done over the last few years representing STR hosts, property managers and the entire industry. And I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much, James. Thanks very much. And I'll see you in London next month.
Looking forward to it. Now, over to you. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment and tell us what regulation concerns you most in the short-term rental industry right now. Is it the tourism tax or registration scheme? Let's start the conversation. If you found this episode useful, hit like and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. New episodes of the Host Planet podcast drop every single week. And if there's a topic you'd like us to cover or a guest you think we should speak to, leave a comment or email info@hostplanet.club. This is the Host Planet podcast, powered by Hostfully. Until next time, happy hosting.